Okay, so someone calls in to your number, they enter the extension number, and they're going to hear the recording that you've done. After that, you have control over some of the settings, and I'd like to go over that with you. So if I click on this edit icon for 932 Broome Street, which is extension 101, we come to the edit screen. You can see here that this is what we're going to play when the prospect listens to the extension recording. So we're going to play "This newly updated home has an open, spacious feeling throughout." But what happens after this is really important. The priority that we would always encourage you is to push them to a conversation, which is what the default settings are going to be. In this case, we're using the Say Yes prompt, and the Say Yes prompt is going to say, "Would you like additional photos and current pricing for this property? If so, say yes." And then it pushes to a conversation. Now you can change what this Say Yes prompt says just by hovering over and clicking. Change it to whatever you like and hit the Save button. In this case, we are pushing them to a conversation, and we understand that you've got listing appointments to do, you've got appointments to run, paperwork to do, and so there's times when you're just simply not available. So what happens if you're not available? In this case, we're going to send them to voicemail. So they say yes, you're not available, we're going to send them to voicemail, but there's a voicemail prompt that's associated with that. So we're going to say something to them. In this case, we're going to say, "I'm sorry, our pricing assistant is currently helping another caller. You can expect a return call shortly. Or would you like to leave a voicemail message? If so, say yes." They say yes, then leave a voicemail message. But you can change this prompt just like you can change this one, just by clicking on it, changing it to whatever you like, and hitting the Save button. But let's say that if you're not available, you would like to send them a text message instead. You certainly can do that. Just select Send a Text Message. Now, obviously, the prompt that we're going to say if you're not available is going to be different if we're sending them a text message. So in this case, the prompt is going to say, "A text message with a link to photos and current pricing is being sent. As a courtesy, our pricing assistant." We're going to say that to them. And then this is the actual text message that we're going to text to them. And you have complete control over that as well. So if I click on them, you can see here that I can change this, the prompt, to whatever I would like. And then I can also change what we send in the text. Most people are going to say something like this: "Thank you for your interest in," and then give them a link, usually a bit.ly link or something that they can click on the phone and then go see the house itself. Make sure that you always press that Save button. The last option, if you're unavailable, is we can just read something to them. So in some cases, you may say, if I'm not available, let me just go ahead and tell them what the price is. So you just click this option here, and we're going to read whatever's in here. So in this case, the price of this home is, and we're going to read that to them, and you have control of that. You just click on it, you can edit it to whatever you like, and then hit Save. But let's say that you don't want to push to a conversation. Let's say rather than pushing to a conversation for a specific reason, maybe you just want to send them to voicemail. So rather than push to a conversation, we're going to send them to voicemail. Now, if you do send them to voicemail, you're probably going to want to change this to something else. And once again, you have control over that. Also, if they say yes, instead of pushing to a conversation or sending to voicemail, you can send them a text message. So if they say yes to whatever this is, you can send them a text message. And once again, you have control over what we're going to text to them. So you just highlight this if you want to change it, and you change it and hit the Save button. Now, we don't recommend it, but you can deviate from the Say Yes prompt, somewhat of a menu. If you want them to press 0 to speak with you or press 2 to leave a voicemail, you can deselect Use Say Yes, and then here are your options. You can allow a conversation, allow a voicemail, allow them to listen to the extension again, allow listening to another extension. Now, what I would recommend is if you do choose this option to not use the Say Yes, make sure you call in and test the system to make sure that it's working the way that you would like to. Once again, we always recommend, though, that you use this Say Yes prompt. Now, something else I just want to cover real quickly is there are two different types of extensions. One is a listing type and the other is a report type. And we have default settings for those. So if I go to the 11 tips to pass a home inspection, you can see that the prompts have been changed to reflect a report as opposed to a listing. So we're going to say, would you like a free copy of this report mailed or emailed to you? If so, say yes. Once again, the goal is to push them to a conversation, and if you're unavailable, then you can say, please leave your name and email address here. On a final note, just make sure that anytime you change any settings in the system, make sure that you actually call it and test it and make sure that it's working the way that you expected. The last thing you want to do is to have a prospect or the homeowner calling you saying, hey, why is it saying this? And you thought that it was saying something else. So just make sure that you test the system before you roll it out to the public.